Right. So I'm going to discuss what I prepared for you today. So my name is Rehema. I am a pharmacist, a specialist in the hospital sector, currently looking after a lot of cancer patients. I am a poverty warrior because I refuse to. I believe that you do where you started from. And on my vision board, I have a very poor background image of kids playing on a water well in Africa. And I think the first image for me that tells me that there are a lot of engineers in this image, a lot of pharmacists, a lot of doctors in this image, and our job is to facilitate that. I am also a volunteer for the community and a busy mother and everything else that goes with it. So hopefully this afternoon I've got a couple of hours to go through some cost of living. I prepared for today two presentations on the cost of living and top tips, really. And the next one, after we have a little break, is on about investing in property. Now, I normally use a timer when I'm talking because I could talk about this topic for hours. So I'm going to set it at around 35 minutes. And then after that, I'm quite happy to answer questions. If we don't get to the end of it, that's absolutely fine. Because obviously, as we answer questions, it's more interactive, and I think people learn a lot more that way. I learn as well. So we're all here to learn. So the brief, basically, it was about cost of living, directed at mainly women, digitally. It's about investing in the UK and focus on property. I'm going to focus on property in the next session because that's really my hobby. I could talk about property all week, UK property all week. Why we need to overcome the cost of living crisis. When do we need to do it? We need to do it now, not yesterday. We need to have a short-term, medium and long-term view, certainly in investing and looking after ourselves. Where the organization is based in Liverpool, so I've referenced Liverpool. I lived in Liverpool about 30 years ago, and so I know it very well. Certainly the center, I know L7, L8, L13, Bootle. I really know Liverpool very well. I know the museum, the Slavery Museum in Liverpool at the docks. So I do know Liverpool quite well. Smithdown Road, Toxteth, Walton, all the way down to Speke. And I worked in Liverpool as well, looking after patients there. So I think I know a little bit of Liverpool. So when I was looking at cost of living crisis, if you Google it, YouTube it, Facebook it, we're really looking at things like fuel. We're looking at, the fuel cost has gone up. Whether it's petrol in your vehicle or transportation, the rent's gone up. The cost of living is leading to more and more marital strife and family breakdown. It's really influencing our food choices at the moment, our family choices. Are we having children? Are we not having children? Are we sending them off to the grandparents altogether? Or we just abandon them like we abandon the animals. There's cost of living is obviously affecting our mental health significantly so, and we need to look after. You can't invest and make money if your mental health is not up to speed. And obviously, this picture at the bottom here is we all have to live knowing that we left family back home. So back home, they're waiting because Rehema is up here making thousands of pounds per minute. And she's able to share some of that to alleviate the situations back home. So it affects everybody. It's affecting a whole load of our lives, and we need to get going. We need to put ourselves together, pull ourselves up, and say, you know what, this is here. It's here to stay, and I need to do something about it. So the cost of living crisis, this has been going on since 2021, post-COVID, or during COVID, and it's a very predictable thing, and it's a thing that, in my own view, it's really, really designed by the government to make us more compliant. Because if you're thinking about food, thinking about what you're going to eat, you've got no time to go protesting. You've got no time to, ask them why did we leave the EU and all that. So it's really is about this government squishing and squeezing us to the absolute limit. And all the other governments, particularly in Africa, they're just copying what is going on here. So the government is diminishing its support in terms of finance. So the middle class and the lower class are paying far more tax than the Queen or the Queen's estate. And you're going to think, that can't be right. But that is the absolute truth. And that's why I mentioned that headline. There is an increased risk of not being able to afford your basic utilities, your gas, electricity, your water, your child support, and the rent. So obviously you need to be able to get on top of that, or we need to be able to get on top of that. Because of the cost of living, there are more and more people at increased risk of becoming homeless. And homeless means that you can be sofa surfing, or you can be living with a friend, but effectively you're homeless because you don't have your own home. We've got children now leaving university and coming back home to their parents. So they are effectively, there's a whole host of a cohort of people there that are absolutely homeless leaving university. The government obviously wants you to think that this homelessness situation has been created purely by the greedy landlords. And again, if we get time, I will we can discuss that myth and put it to bed. The government keeps you and me off the property ladder. It doesn't want you and me to own any properties in the United Kingdom. And you probably be saying, what? That can't sound right, but it's absolutely true. It doesn't want you and me to own the property ladder. And how does it do that? It does that in a very, very, very subtle way. It first of all makes life very difficult for people who own homes, who can rent homes to you. And then it makes the amount of support that gives you to pay your rent even less. So there's freeze on local housing allowances. They're tinkering around the no blame evictions. All these things that they're doing at the moment are actually designed to make us, you and me, homeless. It sounds shocking, but it's actually true. I want to go to the next page. So one of the things that is making us really difficult is obviously the bank and the banking sector. I don't know if you know that the bank is actually a private organization. We just so happen to fund it. The Bank of England, we just happen to fund it. And the government just happened to be on board with it. And it just basically makes our lives hell. But that's a whole different story going into that. But the Bank of England is not here to make your life easy. It is here to make shareholders, corporate Britain, corporate UK, more and more rich. It is for people with money. It is designed to help people with money stay with their money, and people without their money to part with their money even more easily. So your job is to claw your way out of that situation. Your job and my job. When I say you, I'm including myself in that. So in this crisis, when we're trying to tackle it, we need to think about our hierarchy of needs. So the hierarchy of needs, I don't know if people know it. By the way, if you've got questions, can I ask that you write them down? And then I'm going to leave plenty of time for us to discuss any of these questions or anything that comes up. Please do discuss, because I can't see what's in the chat right now until I come to the end. So there is something in chat actually. Yes, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Fantastic. Yes. So when you're trying to tackle any issue, you need to tackle it from, I'm talking about this crisis, you need to think about as the Maslow's theory of needs. So basically, the most important thing is to think about all our physiological needs. So are we warm? Do we have a roof over our head? Do we have food? Do we have water? So these are the things when you're tackling your I don't like saying yours because it's like I'm talking to you, but I'm including myself, and I need to emphasize that we need to tackle our physiological needs first. Then we need to tackle our safety needs before we go into love, self-esteem, and self-actualization. So the whole system of this crisis is to keep us focusing purely on our physiological and safety needs, and possibly nip into our love and belonging needs. If we're kept in this red triangle at the bottom of this triangle, we definitely can't get out of the crisis. And that is how the system is designed to be. So we need to recognize that and say, right, I need to quickly sort out my physiological needs, my safety needs, my love needs. Then I hop onto my self-esteem and quickly work up to my self-actualization. So in terms of this, heat, yes. So how do we sort some of these issues out is what I really wanted to talk about today. So for example, we need to sort out our shelter, yeah, the roof of our heads. And despite what is out there, there is actually a local housing allowance. And I put a link in here to Liverpool City Council's local housing allowance calculations. Basically, why did I do this? Is that a lot of us don't know that we are entitled to a certain amount towards your rent. Okay? So if you are below the age of 35, you have a calculated rate. Then if you're a bit over 35 and you're single, you're entitled to a one bedroomed rate, and then 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and 4 bedroom, and so on. So make sure that your household is claiming the right bedroom rate. Okay, so how can I emphasize this? For example, I've got a family. The rent went up, and she was in a 3-bedroomed house. So the rent has gone up to beyond what her local housing can pay for her. And she's claiming for a 3-bedroom rate. If you go on your local housing allowance and you follow the links, obviously that is a whole exercise in itself, and we only have 2 hours to sort this. So I helped her to say her family is entitled to the 4-bedroomed rate. The makeup of her household is entitled to the 4-bedroom rate. And because it's entitled to the 4-bedroom rate, which is higher than the 3-bedroom rate, she was then able to apply for LHA allowance for the 4-bedroom rate, and that easily covered her rent. I don't know if I've made that clear, but we can go into that later. So when you're claiming your local housing allowance, don't necessarily claim your 2-bed, if it's a 2-bed house or a 3-bed house, claim what your family is entitled to. That will probably get you just over the line to make sure that you can afford to live somewhere decent. So you might be able to claim a 3-bedroom rate in a 2-bed house because of the makeup of your household. Okay, thank you, Shams. Okay, fantastic. So in terms of housing, this is how you're going to make it. So don't make why am I saying that? Is because when the rent goes up, some of us think, I can't afford this rent anymore, and then you become homeless because of that. But make sure you're claiming the right help for that, okay? So heating and food. Now, in terms of heating, again, there are grants in Liverpool. When I had a look last week, there are grants in Liverpool to help you with your heating needs. For example, there are grants to help you to change your boiler. I think that scheme has literally just finished, but they always stop that scheme and bring it back under a different scheme. So, if you change your boiler, for example, you can reduce your gas bills by about 30%, and that's a huge. So instead of paying, say, £2,000 a year for your gas, you might save about £600 on your heating bills, which works out at quite a hefty chunk. So there are grants within your locality, within your local council, to help you with your heating needs, and work with your landlord. So for example, if you need a new boiler, don't think, I don't want to get a boiler because the house is not mine, which is fine, but think about the fact that you are the one living in that house, so you're the one who's going to end up paying those bills. There's a question: are those grants accessible to everyone, or only those on universal credit? Right. Okay. Now, Julie, the heating grants change depending on how the government feels. But there were some grants that were only available to people on claims, on some kind of benefits, or universal credit, or DSS, or whatever, and those finished. Then they brought in grants that were only accessible to people that owned the home and lived in the home. So those are different kind of grants. And then there are also grants for people that don't own the home, but they're renting from the private sector instead of the social housing, instead of housing associations. So the grants change all the time, absolutely all the time. So what I would suggest is that every 3 to 6 months, just Google housing grant in Liverpool, and you'll find out what is available. But the one that usually doesn't end is the one that is for like draft proofing, insulation, like insulation in your loft. They haven't got grants for windows because they're too expensive. So some of those grants are available. Can I please share the links for homeowners? The homeowners, for the Liverpool one, that one has just finished, and for the private landlords, that one has just finished. So I was going to share it, but I thought, well, there's no point because that one has just finished. Now, literally every April or every financial year, they bring out a new grant. So I'll be thinking, put a timer or a reminder on your calendar that around May, look up the what your current grants are for heating in your neighborhood. I hope that answers the question. I did look up the current ones for Liverpool, but they have just finished. But usually they're under the ECO scheme, ECO, the ECO scheme. The other thing we need to think about is food. Now, I think I did a lot about food. I've got a slide on food, and we'll discuss that when we get to the food, and obviously your mental health in terms of sleeping. Now, where to start? Because obviously this crisis is relentless, it's endless. It's overwhelming for a lot of us. So what I normally do is on the first of the year, when everybody's celebrating and they're hungover, I do my financial spring clean. So I would suggest do this on the 1st of January. But if you've missed the 1st of January, because today is the 16th, choose another date, but do it right at the beginning of the year, because then your mind is focused for the rest of the year. So, and make this a habit. So look at your finances and see where you are right now, and you need to make a budget. I've got a photograph of a copy of the budget, but I've also got a link to Step Change, which will teach you how to sort out your budget. So on the 1st of January, when you've got all your New Year's resolutions, this is really a good time for you to have a look at your finances and make it an annual event. So on my calendar every year, this is on there. I wake up very early and I do my financial clean and make a plan for the year. Whatever you do, don't bury your head in the sand. Don't think, oh my God, I hope this goes away very soon, because this is not going away anytime soon. The current government wants to be voted back in. the Labour Party are busy making a mess, so they need to keep you thinking about your food, so that you don't think about all the nasty things that they're doing outside that. So don't bury your head in the sand. You need to get going. If you don't know what you're doing, speak to somebody. Actually, that reminds me that I didn't speak to this about Sylvia, but I'm quite happy to give somebody, a 30-minute consultation on, just your finances, just to see where you are and what you can do about it, where you're going wrong. But there is a caveat to that, and we'll discuss that later if I remember. A good place to start really is Step Change. This is a charitable organization. There are others, but I like Step Change because Step Change even has templates for the letters that you can send to people that you owe money to. So there is a link there, and again, yes, I did an action plan there. Spend at least 30 minutes really exploring this website, Step Change. Follow all the links, write all your queries down, and take it slowly. But whatever you do, start taking action. And like one of my coaches used to say, you have to take massive action, not just a little bit, but massive action. Okay. The next thing is, we'll have a look at your finances. This is what your financial budget should look like. Obviously, this is a very busy sheet, but you need to put absolutely everything in there. You need to know what you're spending your money on. Are you paying stuff on eBay? How much tax return did you do? How much is coming in? Did you send money back home? How much you're paying on your water, and so on. So you really need to spend time on this budget sheet. And Step Change has got a blank budget sheet for you to look at. And just once you're done, the other reason why you need a budget sheet is that people that you owe money to, you can send them a copy of this budget sheet. And once you've done that, they can't then demand that you pay them more money than what's on this sheet, at least not in the UK. I don't know about other countries, but definitely in the UK, they absolutely cannot ask you for more money than what's on this budget sheet. And again, if we get time, we'll answer. I'm quite happy to take questions and say how you deal with people that you owe money to. The other crisis that's going on is obviously our rent and mortgage crisis. So they kind of go hand in hand here. I have to emphasize, and I've written this down a few times, be honest with your landlord, please. Be honest with your landlord. Tell them that you are struggling and tell them in time. Don't leave it on the last day when they owe you rent and then you lock the door, don't answer, switch off the phone, etc. This is the easiest way of making yourself homeless. So if you're not going to able to make the rent and you know that 2 weeks ahead, 4 weeks ahead, tell your landlord. Oh my goodness, I have to keep emphasizing this point over and over and over again, not because I'm a landlord, I am, but because I know what the law is going to say to that landlord. So if you have missed your rent, they have 24 hours, or within 24 hours, they can serve you notice to vacate that property. I'm just going to let that sink in. Okay, so at midnight, they can come and bring a letter to you and serve you notice. Those are the rules. But if this landlord knew 2 weeks ago you can't make the rent, you could maybe come to an agreement. Maybe the landlord will help you to claim your universal credit, because it takes 12 weeks for that application to be processed. I have tenants that claim housing benefits. I have helped tenants claim their housing benefit, but we have to work hand in hand, because the landlord, if you don't pay the rent, they have to pay the mortgage. The bank is going to close that mortgage, and then definitely you'll be homeless. And also, part of the mortgage deal is to say, the terms is that if somebody is behind with their rent, the landlord has a legal obligation to inform the bank. So it's really, really, really important that you talk to your landlord if you are struggling to pay your rent. This is the same with your mortgage. If you're struggling to pay your mortgage, please speak to your bank. I can't say that any hard, like, I have to emphasize that you have to speak with your landlord. Yes, some landlords will say get out, but a lot of landlords will think, okay, how do we solve this? Can you claim housing benefit? Are you claiming even the right housing benefit? You might be claiming a 2-bedroom rate and actually entitled to a 4-bedroom rate, and that will actually sort out the issue with your rent. Okay, so here I've put about bedrooms and not property. I've also put a link here on the actual current LHA rates. They're called local housing allowance rates, so that you can find out what you are entitled to. Now, here's the top tip. A lot of landlords do not like people that claim housing benefit for 2 reasons. One, a lot of tenants, when they get the housing benefit, they don't pay the landlord. And then the other thing is that the housing benefit takes 12 weeks up to 12 weeks to be processed. So obviously the landlord now has up to 12 weeks to cover your rent, or to cover the mortgage. And the other thing is the payment is always made a month in arrears. So they've taken 12 weeks to process. Then once it's accepted, they're going to pay in arrears by a month. So obviously the landlord, you're not the best client for that landlord. The other thing, which is really, really important, is that the banks stipulate that people on housing benefits cannot live in this particular house. That's a secret that most people probably don't know. So it's really, really important that you speak to your landlord straight away, so that this thing can be sorted out and you stay in your home. And the top tip here is when this is happening, just ask the DWP to pay your landlord directly instead of paying the money into your account. Just ask them to pay it to them directly. That landlord is more likely to take you on, knowing that every 4 weeks their rent is going to come. Yes, it's going to be in arrears, but it's definitely going to come. It's going to be the least of their worries. So speak to your landlord as soon as possible. But obviously, maybe when we get into the property section, I'll go into a bit deeper into that. If you're really struggling and you've claimed all the money that you can, then there is a discretionary housing support. Again, I've put the link in there. This link is the Liverpool discretionary housing support. So what does that mean? That means that the local housing allowance has topped out. That's the maximum they can pay you. At the moment, for 2-bed is 525. It's been 450 for the last maybe 10 years, but from the 1st of April, it's going to go up to 525. That's actually a good thing, because if you're about to be evicted, tell your landlord that from the 1st of April, my LHA rate is going to go up, and they'll be fine. So discretionary housing is that extra support that you need, and they do. You make the claim, you speak to your support worker, and then that support worker will go through the forms with you, and they will try and claim other benefits that will then make up to your rent. So it's really, really important that if you're struggling with your rent, that you claim your discretionary housing support, especially if you have children. It's really, really important that you do that. In terms of mortgage, if you're having a mortgage crisis, speak to your bank, but we can talk about that in another session. But the main thing is, because in this case, when you have a mortgage, the bank is the landlord. The bank owns the asset, so they need to know what's going to happen with it. And obviously, you can ask the bank to reduce the payments. So the other crisis is about fuel and utilities. Fuel, I'm talking about gas, electricity, and utilities, right? Now, again, you have to budget and look at what you're doing. The easiest way to save money on this is to look at your tariff. I was going to ask if I was in an interactive, physical room. Oh, I am in. Ooh. This up, okay. Shade, okay. My hand is up, Rachel. Okay. I can't see you because I've got this screen that is my screen. So when I finish this, I've only got a few more slides, and my timer says, 5 minutes. We can go onto the normal screen, and then I can take questions from Rachel, Barbara, and Shade Silva. Oh my goodness, I've got 5 minutes. I'll speed up a little bit. In terms of fuel, the easiest way to save money is check your tariff. You might be, so what fuel providers do is they put you on really nice low tariff, and then for say 18 months or 24 months, and then boom, they just whack you up on their highest tariff, because they know that most people, over 90% of people, never, ever, ever, ever check their tariff. So I always check my tariff. My tariff is up in April. By February, I'm on the phone and I say to my supplier, what is your cheapest tariff? Put me on it. And they'll say, oh, but you see, however, I just know that I use, 15,000 units of gas or X number of units of electricity. Put me on your lowest tariff. And after a little bit of, because, you see, however, they'll put you on the tariff for another 2 years, and then just, continue with that. So you need to know when your tariff ends. I remember a few years back, there was an old lady who was with British Gas. She hadn't checked the tariff for years. We checked the tariff, and British Gas owed her over £1,000 in gas alone. So it's really, really important, because they will just keep billing you, even for gas that you don't use. You need to check your EPC, that's your Energy Performance Certificate, and now they're all available online from the government website. And on the EPC, it will tell you what you need to do to make your house more, energy efficient. So you might say change your lighting, or put draft proof or whatever. So follow your EPC. Oh my goodness, the timer is going to go off. I was going to do an exercise here where we looked at Liverpool L7 7FT. I just picked the letters out of, so that we can look at an EPC. But if somebody wants to look at an EPC, we can do that with their postcode. You could do the smart meters. I personally don't like smart meters. That's my own personal view. I think we've got enough electricity going around. But use your common sense. Every 28 days, read your gas meter, read your electricity meter, and send the reading to your provider. And they'll bill you for what you have used. You don't necessarily need a smart meter. You need to turn your boiler down by, maybe 5 degrees. That will save you hundreds of pounds on your gas and electricity. And I find it absolutely crazy that people even use dryers. Dryers are the most energy inefficient appliance in the home. Dryers. So why on earth would anybody think about using a dryer? If you want to, just go to a laundrette, dry all your clothes for 10 quid and get out. But avoid expensive dryers. Your showers are also very, very expensive in terms of electricity. So just use your gas showers. What's a gas shower? Your bathtub, just put a proper nice shower on your bathtubs. That's powered by your gas supply. And, you save an absolute ton. And why on earth are you using dishwashers? I have absolutely no idea. And avoid water meters at all costs. That is just another topic, and it probably comes into owning property. A food crisis. In terms of food crisis, it's very important that you maintain a healthy diet when we're having a crisis. So eat your fruits, veg, etc. You all know what a healthy diet is. Make your freezer your best friend. Buy a chest freezer, buy a second-hand one, and whack everything in your chest freezer, obviously with your meal plans, and that will help you out. Now, here's another top tip. If you're really struggling financially, there is a white goods fund. White goods fund in most local areas, or a charity that gives away white goods. So again, just Google it in your local area and get yourself a nice freezer or a decent fridge freezer and so on, so that you can have a freezer in your home that will be your best friend. Buy your produce at the end of the day when it's all discounted. Forget about the expiry dates and all of that. Why on earth would you buy daily stuff from a supermarket? Buy in bulk. In Liverpool, when I used to live in Liverpool, on Edge Lane, there were just off Edge Lane between the KFC and Laurel Road, I think, opposite the Innovation Park, around that area. People know Liverpool. There used to be a place where you used to buy all your vegetables in bulk. So go and buy your vegetables in bulk. Go and buy a sack of potatoes, 20 kilos for 10 quid. Sit at home with your kids and prep it. Peel the potatoes and you're done. Buy your African food in bulk. If there's nothing in Liverpool, drive to Manchester. It's 30 minutes away. Smithfield Market. Buy all your stuff in bulk. Take it home. Whack it in your freezer and you are done. And you save an absolute ton of money that way. Mobile phones are another thing that is costing us a lot. I go to people's homes and there are 6 mobile phones in the home. I'm thinking, why on earth would you want 6 mobile phones? And they're all designer, they're all iPhone this, Samsung that. I think if you're in a crisis, you don't need that. You just need to have a basic phone. And these days you can actually have really nice phones, dual SIM, if necessary. And a phone is a phone is a phone is a phone. And all you need to do is get a nice SIM card and you're in there. You don't need any designer handsets. The whole family, your target is to work out that your whole family's phone cost should be under £20 a month, all of you. There's a family that I work with. Their mom, their dad, and I think their daughter. Their daughter is 12, I think, but the mom and the dad, they get change out of £20 in their monthly telephone bills. It's all about knowing what to do in this crisis. If you're really in a crisis and you have 6 mobile phones, then you're not really in a crisis. Okay, Millie Mars, we can do that online today if we get time. This is my favorite thing to do. Okay, in terms of travel, oh my goodness, I've got about 3 minutes. In terms of travel, Futsubishi is your favorite mode of transport. It's got to be your favorite mode of transport if you're really, really, really in a crisis for all sorts of reasons. It's good for your brain. It's good for your, it's a good exercise. It's aerobic exercise. You lose a ton of weight. It's cheaper and you can make a lot of money. Or you can use travel cards versus the car. You can go on holidays. You can go on bus tours. So, for example, I was looking at the bus tours in Liverpool. They start from £20. So you can do a whole day bus tour in Liverpool for £20, cheaper than a holiday. So if your kids are, you can have that as a mini holiday for the family. There are free city hoppers. I know there are free festivals. The Jazz Festival in Manchester has got a lot of dates that are free. You can go to North Wales for very, very little money. So definitely you can have travel and you can definitely have holidays at cost. They're not super duper holidays where you're flying up to Spain, but you can definitely have a day out and visit. Because when you go to Spain, you're just visiting their museums, you're visiting the shops. So why not do it here at a fraction of the cost? In terms of finances, so we're looking at debts, defaults, credit rating, bailiffs, and so on. So again, this is a whole lecture in itself where we can help ourselves discuss debt. And I don't know if Sylvia will allow me time to discuss a little bit more about that. Alternatively, in our Q&As, we can discuss that. Now then, I'm almost to the end. I don't know if anybody sees all these beautiful people here. Oh, I'm at the end. In terms of a crisis, all these people here have got mental health issues. Can you believe? So it's really, really important that in this financial crisis, we really, really look after our mental health. And this is one of my favorite posters from Naomi Osaka. And she says, it's okay to not be okay. It's really, really important that we talk about all these crises in terms of our mental health and the mental health of our children while we are trying to sort ourselves out. And I don't know if you allow me a couple more minutes before the Q&As. In terms of mental health and the crisis, there is no better medication than walking. I know this sounds strange, but there's no better medication for you than walking. I'm speaking as a pharmacist with a lot of years under my belt. I've given out a lot of mental health medications But if you walk and walk some more, the action of walking actually massages the brain, it relaxes the brain, and that is how you're going to overcome some of this. Remember that our children too have mental ill health, so we need to acknowledge it. And we need to also talk them through it. You know, the children are also traumatized when they see their mother crying because they can't afford to feed them. They're absolutely traumatized. So it's really, really important to acknowledge our children's mental ill health. Our marriages are breaking down. So it's really, really, really important to speak to our family members. And in terms of our mental health and the crisis at hand, we need to prioritize our debts. And again, we can talk through that. You need to ask yourself when you're panicking that what's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen because you cannot pay for your gas? That's a really strange question, you know, but what is the worst that can happen? And you need to keep asking yourself that question in order for you to take a breath so that you can speak to somebody. You need to speak to health professionals about it. And at times you may need to take some drugs. Drugs, I don't mean heroin. Drug pharmacists call all medications drugs, so that's where drugs come in. They are a quick fix, you know, antidepressants. I have yet to meet somebody who got better taking antidepressants. Yes, it gives you that quick fix, but it definitely doesn't help your issue. I'm sorry to go over, but I'll take some questions now. There were some questions in the chat. Heroin. No, pharmacists call all medications drugs. So I'm going to stop the sharing. Oh my goodness, there are 30 people. I'm going to stop the sharing, and then I'm going to take some questions, and then we can take maybe a 5 or 10, and then I can talk about investing, and we can take it from there. How does that sound? Does that sound okay?
Not, is your hand up? No, I thought it was.
I think
usually we take the questions at the very end.
Okay.
Sometimes a question may be answered after, and so then it helps. But if someone has a question, we are definitely happy to have it.
So the first one, I really just wanted to go into the crisis, the financial crisis. And then the next one, I really just want to talk about investing, like how do we get started on investing. But I might have touched on a few like crisis issues there that somebody has got a burning question. I think a couple of people had their hand up. It was Shade and Shade Silva had their hand up, and I can't remember the other person.
Both those hands were for that consultation you offered. Very
really?
but Princess Conso has a hand up right now.
Okay,
Would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Princess Conso, and ask the question.
Yes. I just have a quick question. She mentioned on meter readings, and my question is, there is that hassle of having to send the meter readings to them all the time, or requesting to have the pairs you go, the one you put in the house and you just pay on your own whenever it's getting finished. So what's the difference? Because you were recommending a meter reading to just see how much you're using.
Okay, I can answer that one. Let me take Millie as well, and then I can answer that one. Maybe I should take like a few questions and then I can answer. Millie, do I need to? Sorry, Millie. Ask Millie to unmute. You can tell I need a session in technology.
Hello.
Hello, Millie.
Hi. Thank you for a lovely session. I just wanted to ask, do you have any energy providers you can recommend on a pay-as-you-go? Because we're just in the process of changing from the smart meter reading to pay-as-you-go.
Okay.
Thank you.
As you go. Any energy providers? Right in the. Any other questions? I can answer those. So the first question was the hassle.
The money.
Nat, Nat, Nat Langley,
Yeah.
do you have a question? Oh, okay. Also, Nat Langley can help with meter recommendations. Okay. So the first one is saying the hassle of sending meter readings all the time. So the reason why I'm chuckling is the wording. So the wording tells me that, hey, this person is not in a crisis. Because if you're in a crisis, it's not a hassle, it's a necessity. So I personally would ask you, just put a reminder on your phone, on your calendar, to send a meter reading. Now, usually, if you're on a pay-as-you-go meter, usually, maybe things have changed, you are on the highest paying tariff. And they know that the people that are the poorest are going to be on pay-as-you-go. And they need your money. So pay as you go, get off it ASAP, is because you are going to be on the highest tariff. I don't know if that answers that question. It doesn't matter whether it's British Gas or United Utilities or Scottish Power or whatever. They have set up this system knowing that the poorest people cannot afford direct debit. So they send the meter readings. It takes you maximum 4 minutes. So 4 minutes is going to save you a lot of money. 4 minutes a month is going to save you a lot of money. All it takes is being organized, and that's it. So for that one, I can't softly wrap it up for you. But alternatively, get the pay-as-you-go meter, as long as you know you're going to be on the highest tariff. That's one. Number two, usually when you're on a pay-as-you-go meter and you're with one provider, usually maybe things have changed. That provider makes it really hard for you to change from that provider to another provider. Whereas if you're on your own direct debit, whatever, if you're doing it yourself, you can change. They just need an 8-week notice and you've changed to a cheaper provider. But pay-as-you-go, you have to go and get the code, then you have to go and do this, then you have to go and do that. And by the time you think about it, you think, oh God, that is just too much hassle, and you leave it. And they're doing this deliberately. So I don't know if that answers that question. Energy provider, the best one for pay-as-you-go, there isn't a good provider for pay-as-you-go. They'll usually start you off on a lower tariff anyway to hook you in, and then they'll just up the tariff that you're on. It's just the way it works. They just exploit people that are on pay-as-you-go. I think the government debated this issue last year or possibly the year before, and they just obviously put it to bed and left it at that. But if you're on a pay-as-you-go meter, you are on the highest tariff, period.
Can I ask a question, please? Because I don't know how to put my hands on the chat.
Oh, okay,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mrs. Rehema, for a beautiful session. Sorry, I joined a bit late, so I didn't know if this session is only concerning the Liverpool residents. I'm in London. Now, you spoke about the boilers, that we need to change boilers because it's another way of saving gas and electricity. I've got it right. However, the question is, if you've moved into a property and there was already a boiler that was installed, and okay, sorry, let me put it like this: how old is a boiler?
How old is an old boiler?
That's it.
Okay.
That turns out to be at what point of time should you be able to change a boiler in order for you to save the money? Because I found it quite to be very interesting, because I have a property which is a 4-bedroom house, and my friend has a 4-bedroom house, and I happen to be paying a lot more of gas and electricity as opposed to her property. Yet the houses are completely the same size. But what I noticed that she changed hers 3 years ago, her boiler, and I pay almost double.
That's correct.
Her gas and electricity. So that is a fantastic point that no one has ever mentioned. So please clarify more so we know as into how old should we, how old is an old boiler? Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mrs. Ntege, for that. It's a really good question. I know any boiler that's older than 7 years old is old. Okay. Wow. The boilers that are any boiler that is 7 years old and above, get it out of your building. Get it out tomorrow. Okay. At a push, at an absolute push, 10 years. Okay. The technology in boilers has changed so much that now the boilers are far more energy efficient than they were today. You need a combi boiler. So if you've got a boiler that stores water, I don't know if that's another one that Mrs. Ntege has. If you have a boiler that is attached to storage system, that is very inefficient boiler, and that's very, very expensive, because every time you want hot water, you have to heat the whole 500 liters of it. Whereas the current boilers literally boil your teacup, or they literally boil the water that you use and they're off. But if the old systems, the boilers used to boil the water maybe twice a day, put it in this huge tank that you had to wrap around to keep your water hot all day. But every time you need that water, you have to boil the entire boiler. So 7 years and above, get rid. That's one. Number two, in terms of boiler schemes, and again, the boiler schemes, what the government does is that it allocates the money to set a certain council. That's why I said Liverpool. Or like Mrs. Ntege is in London. So find out if your local borough has got a boiler scheme, okay? From your council, go to your.gov.uk and see if there's a boiler scheme within that area. If your boiler is, some schemes, and the schemes are different, some schemes might say, we'll replace any boiler that is above 20 years old for free. So that could be the scheme. Yeah. So for example, in some parts of Wales, when I was in Wales, they still use oil heaters. So the current scheme in Wales is to fit a brand new boiler for the first time, for the keys for the first time. Yeah. Now, the next question, which, so there might be a scheme just to replace the boiler for the first time. But if there's already an existing boiler, then you're outside of that scheme. So the schemes are slightly different. The wording is slightly different. You just need to sit down and pore over the wording. You don't need external person to do this for you. Just spend a little bit of time, just like our first question was the hassle of sending a reading. Well, this is going to be the hassle of reading that grant. Now, to find out when your boiler was installed, if you look underneath your boiler or somewhere on your boiler, usually it's underneath, you might need to lift a cap or something. There is the sticker that says the date of installation. That's how you know how old your boiler is, because your landlord might not even know how old the boiler is. So that sticker is on there and it tells you. Alternatively, just Google the boiler. So it might say Worcester and then a few letters. So Google that and says, when was it last made? It might say production ceased in 1984. That means your boiler is older than 1984. So that's how you find out. But different schemes in different councils and different criteria for the scheme. Some criteria might be that it's only the landlord that can ask. Some criteria said the landlord's permission is required for that. So the landlord might say, no, I don't want you to tamper with my boiler. So each scheme has got slightly different requirements. And that's why I can't send you a link to a specific scheme.
Thank you very much. On that note, is it by law that landlords are required to change boilers every
Absolutely not.
Okay, so that's another one. So is it up to the tenant to change the boiler themselves, or
it's not up to anybody? If the boiler is working and is serviced every 12 months, it doesn't need changing. The reason why we're talking about this is because of the energy crisis. I think you were a shining example. You just said your neighbor.
That's it, my friend. Yeah.
Or your friend who changed their boiler 3 years ago
Yeah.
is paying probably half of what you're paying.
Honestly.
Because the technology within the boilers has changed. And another point is, please do not buy a cheap boiler. That I'm going to emphasize that. If you're buying a cheap boiler, you're going to pay for 2 or 3 boilers in a 10-year period. Buy, a decent quality German boiler. So I would go for either Worcester Bosch or a Valiant as a boiler. So if you got one of those, then you're onto a good machine. The other thing about these boilers, like the Worcester's got a 10-year warranty. That means if something goes wrong with it within 10 years, Worcester themselves will come and replace the parts. If you buy another branded boiler, not that I've got any shares in these boiler companies, you're going to be paying twice or 3 times. Kim's hand is up. Kim can unmuted you.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening, Kim.
Kim, you've gone mute again.
Keep going mute.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
But it's something you mentioned in terms of cost saving.
Yeah.
And you actually said, why would you use a dryer,
Yeah.
But I'm one of those people because I had quite young kids, so I've always had to use a dryer in the past. But then with the cost of living, obviously, and the energy bills going high, I found myself this winter, and basically not using the dryer. But what I found happened, this is like last year. Now, last year I'm talking about December. I found that I was having mold everywhere in the house because I was having to dry my clothes or either on the heaters or on the banister. Right? So I've been here for nearly 10 years in this house, but I've never had mold anywhere. It's quite a new build as well. I've never had mold anywhere. And I know, the moment you see mold, because of obviously the case of that little boy in Manchester, you should be worried. But I knew part of it was my fault because I've never had mold.
Yeah.
And I actually had to go back to using my dryer at the moment, painfully, because I can't see any way out. I don't want to have mold in the house. But on the other hand, there's no alternative for me to dry the clothes. I have to go through how many washings a week? About 4 times a week I have to wash.
Yeah.
So obviously you can't keep all the wet clothes with the cold. If the house, you're not heating up the house enough, you're going to have mold.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to someone actually, and she said to me, you shouldn't have mold regardless of whether you're, air drying the clothes within the house. Mold shouldn't be happening that quite soon, with a new build. That means there is a problem with maybe the foundations or the way the installation has been done with the house. So I'm not quite sure about that, but at the moment I've had to go back to using my dryer because I don't like having mold around.
No, that is absolutely fine, and I can answer that. I wasn't sure if it was another question. No, okay. So Kim, yes, I did say that it's absolutely nuts to use a boiler, and I think you've just said that because the electricity is just basically boilers are very energy efficient. I think they're the most energy efficient product that we actually can own in our own home, and that is certified by the EU. So what I would recommend, if you're absolutely desperate, you could just go to well, obviously I don't know about your schedule and opening times and all that, but if you're absolutely desperate, just using the laundrette once or twice a week to dry your clothes might be worth investing in. Having a dehumidifier in your home might be something worth investing in as well.
Opening windows.
I was going to say open your windows, and also if you look in your house, they should have those little holes. I don't know what those little holes are. The vents.
Ventilation hole.
Vents. Are those vents open? I went to somebody's house.
Mine are open all through the house.
Okay, fantastic. That is fantastic. So you're doing all the right things. But in terms of the heating, the drying crisis, I think it's appalling that a lot of these new builds, and this is the government regulation, by the way, a lot of new builds, they're not allowed to have radiators anymore. I don't know if most people know that. So because you could quite happily dry your clothes on the radiators, and while you're keeping your, everything open, and that would actually work for you. But failing that, you'll have to go back to your energy inefficient dryer, or just go and use the laundry just to dry your clothes. I don't like washing my clothes in the laundry either, but if I was to dry my clothes, especially those big blankets, just try and use the laundrette, the dryers in the laundrette, and then you're done and dusted. It probably costs you less, and certainly costs you less in mold. You did mention are the foundations of the house suboptimal. In the new build is highly unlikely, but the new builds are also made to be quite airtight. So in terms of circulation, the circulation is not very good. So you are likely it's like, when you back yourself up into the corner, the government has said get rid of all the radiators in new builds, get rid of all the heaters in, proper heaters in the new builds, and make the building the envelope more energy efficient. But unfortunately, people have to live in there. People have to breathe. And that doesn't help. It might help if you maybe just keep just one room, only just use the one room with the window to dry your clothes in, not all over the house. But it's a very unfortunate situation that you're in, yes.
I've just got just one more question. Basically, I find myself in like a kind of a dilemma with what you mentioned about whether you're getting the right housing benefit kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I actually live at the moment with my mom, who is not entitled to any public funds at the moment. Mm-hmm. And recently, I had to contact the Universal Credit team. Mm-hmm. Because they kind of tricked me. I would say tricked because they actually put a bedroom tax on basically took off some money for the bedroom tax of the housing of benefit. So it wasn't actually, I wasn't getting what I pay for the house. Mm-hmm. So I went back to them and said, look, I've got children who have got some additional needs. Mm-hmm. So basically, I cannot keep them in the same bedroom because each of them has got their own additional needs. Mm-hmm. They've then come back to me.
Are the children the same sex?
Yeah, the same sex, but they've got additional needs, right?
Okay.
So they come back to me and said, right, you don't get any qualifying benefits. Mm-hmm. So if you don't get any qualifying benefits, you cannot actually use that to claim that the boys can be in the separate bedroom. Mm-hmm. And then,
unfortunately, Kim, this is what I was trying to say when the government's trying to make us all more homeless. If the children are the same sex, that is not the government problem. That's what they'll say. So as far as they're concerned, they have to be in the same room. Some councils are going even as far as counting your lounge as a bedroom. Mm. That is the squeeze. But what you can do, Kim, is make sure. So you're entitled to 2 bedrooms. Is that sounds like you've got the kids?
And, I'm entitled at the moment. I've got a 3-bedroom house, but because the boys can then share one room, so that means I've got an extra bedroom according to them. But like I said, I also live with my mom at the property.
Okay, so in according to the system, according to what you're telling me, there are 2 children that are the same sex. Forget the additional needs.
And then another adult in the house.
The other adult doesn't count, doesn't even exist.
See, that's the thing. This is where I said they tricked me because I didn't put.
No, they're not treating you, Kim. This is the system.
Yeah, listen to this. I did not put her on my claim because I knew she doesn't count, right? Yeah. So when this dilemma of the bedroom tax rose, I then say to them, literally, we can't all be in the same, 2 bedrooms because there's more people of us, and she's here for a reason, and the reason she's here is to do with the kids. So what they then say to me, you need to put her on your claim, although she doesn't qualify. Yeah. Stupid me, I thought that would help, right? I thought that would help with the situation, right? They then came back to me and said, you have a qualifying adult, and you have an adult who can pay towards your rent.
Yeah.
So they've now taken off the bedroom tax, and they've taken off an adult who can pay towards the rent. So that's additional £85 of what they were giving me. So that left me in, like, if you know what I mean, like, totally
situation. You're in a worse situation. So what you need to do is you need to get rid of the adults. Get rid of the adults. But in terms of the LHA rules now, so you as an adult, they'll pay for one room, and then the children, because they are the same sex, they'll pay for one room. So you are only entitled to a 2-bedroom rate, and that's all that you can claim for. You can be in a 10-bedroom house if you want to, a 3-bedroom or 10 or 6-bedroom, but they will only pay for the 2 bedrooms. And that's what the government has said. What you can do is you can speak to your local housing support officer. So make an appointment and ask for additional discretionary support. This is what I was trying to say. So actually, this is a very good example. So the discretionary housing support is coming from a different pot of funding completely from your council. So the LHA is coming from the government. The LHA is coming from the government down to your council. The discretionary housing support. So they might say, right, the pot of discretionary housing support, they might give you the £75. So your rent will be coming from 2 different pots and make up that particular amount. Okay?
Yeah.
That is the only way that you can actually do it. But I just want to emphasize that they're not treating you as Kim like this. They are just following they're just following what the government has said. The government has said if it's 2 children, I don't care if they've got additional needs, special needs, what needs, we're just going to treat them as 2 children of the same sex. The key here is the same sex as 1 bedroom, just 1 bedroom. And so the council cannot give you more than what the government has told them you can claim.
Yeah, thank you for that.
But get rid of your mother. I don't mean throw her out.
Yeah, I know, but it's just something that happened around, towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
So if I had known that is what was going to happen, I wouldn't have accepted to put her on. So that was kind of a catch for me because she didn't.
You did the right thing. You did the right thing. But like I said, when I said this crisis is government created, they want you to be thinking, oh my God, where am I going to live tomorrow? Instead of actually sorting out the problems. So go to your housing officer and speak about discretionary housing support. Those are the 3 key words.
Can you do this at the one-stops?
Say that again?
Can you do this at the one-stop center?
Yes, at the one-stop in Liverpool. Are you based in Liverpool?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you need a housing support officer. And you need to say, I need to speak to somebody called, actually, there's also in Liverpool, because I've got somebody I'm helping in Liverpool.
Yep.
I can give you her email. I think she's called Melissa. Or Mike Corcoran. I'm looking her up. So if you email Michael Corcoran, because Amanda left.
Are you able to put that in the chat?
I don't know if I can. I'm going to try, because there's somebody I'm supporting in Liverpool, and let me see, Michael Corcoran from Housing Standards team. 17 messages I've not been reading. So that's Housing Standards. Oh, that's Wirral, but there should be, council tax. Sorry, I've not been reading these questions. Yes, so Mike Corcoran, ask him to see if you can speak to the person link you to the Liverpool person. And I think that would help. I don't know if that answers that question.
Yes, Rehema, thank you very much.
Okay. I'm failing to drop the hand. Can anyone do it for me? Imagine bedroom tax. Yes, bedroom tax is, it is. Yeah. Okay. Did anybody else have another question? Or can I go on to investing? This has been really, really interesting for me, by the way. We could talk about this forever. It's really good.
I think we should talk about investments so that we can then follow on the next session, which is next Tuesday, same time. with
Okay,
investment.
so I
questions about housing will never end. Trust me.
Yeah. Yes, the housing issue we can discuss later. What I'll do is I'll talk about investing on a shoestring, which I prepped for you, and I'll try and do it really quickly so that we have more questions than me talking. Can you still see my screen? Yeah. So yeah.
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, maybe you need to make share. Okay, share screen.
Yeah.
Share. Oops, share. I left my proper mouse at work, so I'm struggling.
We can see it now.
Okay, let me put up the presentation. So I'm gonna try and do this in literally 30 minutes, and then we can ask questions. I'm trying. I might skip some stuff, and then we can go on to investing. So investing. So the brief for me was, or what I want to talk about was where to start, what practical ideas to try, what to expect, when to expect returns, and what can go wrong, and how to mitigate that. Okay. So while I was doing that, I thought to myself, I think my audience is going to say, but I haven't got any money to invest. So, and then I'm going to say, we all have money to invest. We all have money to invest. What we don't have is the knowledge, but we definitely, everybody in this audience today, 33 participants, has got money to invest. I promise you that. So your first job is to find the money. Who's got your money? That is what you need to ask yourself. And trust me, somebody has got your money. Money moves, money travels. The faster it travels, the more money it makes you. Okay, so let's find our money first. How do we find the money? I'll try and go into that. You need to obviously set your goals. You need to get yourself a financial education. You need to be absolutely disciplined. Absolutely disciplined. When you're trying to make money, you've got no room for you've got no room for excuses. You just need to do it. And if you're trying to make money, from today, I'm going to ask you to wake up 2 hours earlier than you normally do. Because money is made first thing in the morning. If you're getting up at 10 o'clock, 11, obviously some people do night shift, so I'm bearing that in mind. But if you work a normal day and you get up at 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, you've already missed your money. I'm gonna let that bit sink in because that's hard.
The mind waits for me all day long.
So if it's a Saturday and you wake up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and you roll out of bed, you've already missed the money. You're not going to make any. So money is, unfortunately, a very jealous woman. Look at all these people with money. I'm sure you're all familiar with all of them. All these people have got one thing in common, well, a few things in common. One of the things they do is they get up very early in the morning. And they get up very early and they pay themselves first. And again, I'll go into that protocol later. The first couple of hours of the day is to look after yourself, and you look after your brain, and you look after your body. If you can do that, you will definitely make money. So if you've decided that you're going to invest, you need to set your goal. So if your goal might be that I want financial freedom. Now, financial freedom looks very different for everybody. So financial freedom for somebody might be earning £2,000 a month, and that is nice. Financial freedom for somebody could be earning £10,000 a month, and 2,000 doesn't even touch it's not even pocket money. And somebody else like Jeff Bezos or whatever, it's millions and billions. So you need to set your own financial goal. But what I set this when I was structuring this chat, I just try to describe a goal of, say, saving £1,000. So set your goal, and set a goal, not a wish. I always say this to people: do not set a wish, set a goal. A goal is specific, it's measurable, you know what you're doing, it's timely, it's got a work plan. That is a goal. Do not set yourself a wish. A wish is very different. Often we don't get wishes, but we can definitely get our goals. So money is a woman. Definitely money is a woman, and she's a very jealous woman with a lot of rules. And I'm going to go through some of these rules. So let's set ourselves a goal. So we are going to make £1,000 by the 31st of November 2024. So obviously set yourself a goal that you think you're going to achieve, that's a little bit harder for you, but you know why you're setting your goal. So you need to know why you're setting this goal. But if I was to set myself a goal of £1,000 in the next 10 months, this is what I would need to do. So you set it, it's specific, it's measurable, it's achievable, it's realistic. I have not said I want to make £1,000. I've said I want to make £1,000 I could have said I want some money. I don't want some money. I want £1,000 by the 30th of November 2024. That is a measurable goal. I want an accountability partner. So get yourself one. It could be your partner in life. It could be somebody strange totally to you, like somebody like me maybe, or Julie. It could be somebody at work, but somebody who's going to hold you to account. Somebody who's not going to stand up to your nonsense, to want a clean word, and somebody's going to say, why the hell did you not get up and do it? And somebody you trust. So you get yourself an accountability partner. The next thing you need to do, so our goal is to make £1,000, is our how now. So let's list of all your skills that you've got, because you're going to say you haven't got money. There was a video clip that I wanted to place about 2 minutes long that just totally emphasizes this point. Maybe I'll get time at the end to play it. So list all of your skills that you have got. And then these skills are going to make your side hustle. So your side hustle is going to make you this £1,000. So for example, are you good at speaking? Are you good at cooking? Are you good at childminding? Are you good at doing hair? Are you good at dog walking? List all your skills that you absolutely have. I would say here, your target is 40 skills. Can you teach English, or your own language? Can you teach Spanish or Arabic or whatever it is to a group of people? So list all your skills. Another step, open a savings account. Okay, so your savings account can be your credit union, and Liverpool has got a credit union. I looked it up, and the opening amount is £1 for any credit union, and that's going to be your savings account. You can buy premium bonds, go to your post office. They used to be from the post office, but right now you can just get them online. You can open a post office account. You can get an ISA account. You can open an investment account, and so on. So these numbers are the minimums that you need to open those accounts. So credit union is £1, premium bonds is £25, post office, I'm sure it's £1, an ISA, the investment ISA is 500. Then set yourself your target. Your target is to make £100 per calendar month. Obviously, add zeros to that goal. So I was going to offer to work on somebody's financial goal for 2024. I don't know if I've already got 2 people that I need to help through the other offer. So I don't know if I've got time and space to offer somebody's financial goal, but let's see how it goes. So this goal, I've broken it down to 1,000 in 10 months, etc., etc. How are we going to do this? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to exercise a process that is, I have put it in this circle here. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to pay yourself first. Pay yourself first with all the money that comes in. That sounds crazy, right? So paying yourself first means that For every money that comes into your income, you need to take the first 10% of it, even if you're broke, and put it in your savings account. Yeah, the first 10%. That is not even, it's not even a debate if you're serious about investing. So if you earn £100, £10 must go in your savings account because you've already opened it. If you earn I don't know, 10,000 or whatever, how many thousands, the first 10% of that has to directly go into your savings account, even if you're broke. It has been proven scientifically that if most people can live quite comfortable on 90% of their income, even if they're broke. Okay? So 10% you need to pay yourself first. Then your 20%, so that 10% is going to go to our savings pot. 20% should go into your debts, and you shouldn't live on more than 70% of your income. Then I'm going to go on my side hustles. So I'm going to skip some of these slides going because of the time. I'm going to side hustles. So now I'm going to show you how my side hustle of walking can make you the equivalent of almost £8,000 in credit. And that sounds totally right. So if you walk, you can definitely make money. So how did I do this? How did I make myself £8,000 and I live in Liverpool? So I'm going to go by Futsubishi on my journeys 5 days a week. I discovered that in Liverpool, the smallest bus fare for one ride is £2. Okay? So if I do that 5 days a week, so I'm going to walk 5 days a week in Liverpool. Now, you don't necessarily need to walk your whole journey, but definitely do some kind of walking to save money. I can end up with, so I can't remove this bar up here. I can end up with £480. Now, because I've already got my credit union account opened, the credit union can give me, and there is a credit union in Liverpool, it can give me up to 3 times what I have saved. So £500, 3 times that is £1,500. So I've already got a credit of £1,500. That credit, I can start investing with it already. Okay? Then, because I've got a couple of kids, or one child and another bigger child, the cheapest fare in Liverpool is £1.30. They go to school for 39 weeks a year. That gives me £250 times 5 years, that is £1,300. If it's a return fare, and most children live within walking distance, to be honest, return fare is £2.60, that is £2,600. That is a chunky university grant. If I put this money in a credit union, that gives me almost £8,000. This is doable for everybody. Okay, you might not want to do it.
Can I get clarity on this? So the credit union gives you interest, or can they loan you that?
They loan you. It's a credit. A credit means it will loan you £8,000. So if you got, you don't have to take all of it, but I'm just showing you that by doing something so simple as this, you can actually have a big capital to start your business. And all I did was invest in my decent pair of trainers for £80. So yes, Kim, I'm just using, I calculated it on £2 just one way, and using one bus for one journey. Yes, you're right, Kim, because I thought that if I tell you to do it 2 ways, you're going to tell me, oh my God, I've got to get home and pick up my kids and do all the rest of it. So that's why I worked it on one way, but you could do it on 2 ways. If you can. And also the £2 is, I'm not even calculating the full, so your full fare might be £5, but I'm just saying if I walk the equivalent of £2 of that journey, and then I take, I can take the bus for the rest. But I'm just showing you that in a year you could have access, or in a few years you could have access to a lot of money just by walking. So make walking one of the easiest ways to make money. That's one.
You're so right, because I used to walk 5 miles every day.
Yeah.
But if you asked me to walk to work, which was closer than 5 miles, I'd be like, no.
Yeah, I understand.
I was actually walking for exercise every day, 5 miles.
Yes.
Never walk to work.
All right. I definitely, I love it when I get a job within 3 miles of my house, because definitely I walk. So walking or futsibishi is definitely your best friend if you want to make some money. Walking saves on gym fees, it massages the brain, and I just wanted to show you that I live and breathe by this motto. Walking, this is definitely me walking in winter, in snow, in summer. I'll definitely be walking. So I'm not just making this up. But we have lots of different side hustles. So you can do hairdressing, you can do cooking, you can do babysitting, you can do laundry, you can do tuition, you can do surveys online, which is something that I'm beginning to do. You know, you could earn £15 a pop just doing one survey. You can do mystery shopping, you can do cleaning, you can do, and in Liverpool, I looked at this. There are some language colleges. There's Kaplan College right in the middle of Liverpool. There's another one. They do language courses, short language courses for international people. So they come in and the students pay the college, and all the college is looking for, oh, actually, Kim, this might not work for Kim, but all it is that you give them a room and they pay you, you know, £200 a month or £400 a month, whatever the rate is.
That is not going to work for me, because
no.
I
thought because you've already got somebody in the room, the grandma in the room, it won't work. But it's just something to think about, that if you want a side hustle, there are plenty of side hustles. So everybody on this platform can definitely make £1,000 this year if you put out your mind to it. You definitely can. If you've got a mobile phone in your hand, you can definitely make £1,000 this year. What you also need to do,
by the way, if you have a mobile phone but don't have data, we can give you data for free.
That's absolutely true. That's wonderful. But also there are libraries in Liverpool where you can go and use their Wi-Fi and so on for free. You know, basically, if you really want to make money, if you're really broke, if you are a real poverty warrior, you will fight through all the barriers. You do whatever it takes to get to where you need to get going. So get yourself a financial education. And again, I can go a little bit deeper into that. I do a lot of reading, affirmations, visualizations, your lifesavers, etc. These also help you in terms of your financial education. YouTube is a great place to start, Audible, etc. Now, now that we made our £1,000, what are we going to do with it? Okay. The first thing we need to do is we need to invest it. So some people are averse to losing money. They get heebie-jeebies when you ask them to invest. So invest in your can't lose instruments if that's what you want. It's a start. It exposes you to a little bit of risk, but hardly any risk. So put it in a savings account, your credit union account, and so on. I don't like these savings circles that a lot of Black Africans do. I personally don't like them because you've got very little control. If somebody dies with your money, they're dead. There's no recourse if somebody doesn't pay you. But definitely put your money into these savings instruments that you can't lose. You can also park your money in the long-term investment. So here I've put, you can invest up to £20,000. So you can have your cash ISAs, your stocks and shares ISAs, your innovative and lifetime ISAs. And again, these are all like whole day sessions that we can do on this. I've personally, everything I'm telling you here, I've actually done. I've done cash ISAs, I've done stocks and shares ISAs, I've done premium bonds, I've done it all. So not all of it, but I've done quite a little bit of it. So I have experience from all of these. I was going to tell you, for those of you who want to buy property, there's the innovative finance ISAs and the lifetime ISAs. The innovative finance ISAs are basically peer-to-peer lending, and these are all run by high net worth individuals. Basically, peer-to-peer means you're buying a small share of property. So you lend the money through a platform, and they buy a small share of the property within that platform. So they might be building a house, for example, and they need 100 investors, and you're one of those investors. Each of those investors gives them £1,000, and they might say, right, the return is 8% or 10%. So that's what this innovate, and you can put that particular money that you get from that investment into an ISA. So that means you reduce the tax that you pay on that. Again, that is a whole topic on this. Or the lifetime ISA, which is helping people between the age of 18 and 40 to get on their first property ladder, or basically pay for their pension scheme. If you're over the age of 40, if you're over the age of 40, before you, say again.
But you have to pay for it. It's 7 days free.
No, don't you dare.
All right. So the lifetime ISAs, if you're between the age of 18 and 40, you can buy, and it's a maximum of £4,000 savings per annum, and the government gives you 20%, 25% per year. So that's a decent investment if you want to get on the property ladder. So if you live maybe outside of Liverpool, that's really great. Well, in Liverpool as well, but outside of Liverpool, especially the southeast, this is a great way for you to try and get on the housing ladder through this lifetime ISA. If you're over the age of 40, before you've bought your lifetime ISA, then unfortunately you can't buy one. And definitely by the time you're 50, you have to stop the payments. Well, you don't have to, but certainly the government won't be giving you any money back. So I calculated that if you put £4,000 per annum for 10 years, you could get up to, £10,000 back from the government on that. You could also invest in metals, the FTSE 100, blockchain, and so on. So, I like these industries. I did it a long time ago, and then I pulled out because I was really heavily investing in property personally. But again, these are all accessible. The key here is to get education, do your research, and be prepared to lose your money. That is part of the investment journey. Just be prepared. If you're investing 10,000, put it in the investment and say, right, I've lost that, and move on. So the next thing I want to focus on next time is really property, which is what is my hobby almost, because I just find it exciting. I don't want to use the word safe because there's no such thing as a safe investment, but it's just something that is steady. It's been there for, since the dawn of time. It's easier to do than others, but obviously it's got its own pitfalls as well, as we'll talk about that. So I'll stop there now. I was going to talk about investing for university, but we're running out of time. So like I said to Sylvia, I think I have far too much content because I could talk about either of these topics all day long, all week long. But I'll stop here and take some questions. I hope you've taken a little bit of time away from it. In terms of investing, I was going to do an offer of trying to find an investment property in Liverpool for somebody next week. Or we can look for it together online next week. I did have a look last night, and there was a couple of investment properties that looked interesting in Liverpool. They were all around the 120k mark. I thought, I wonder if we could do that as an exercise in this class next week, and then I can show you how an investor thinks when they're looking at a property. I don't know if that's okay. If it's not, that's okay too.
Yes.
But I thought we could do that next week. Right, I'll stop there and I'll take some questions.
We have 3 questions in the chat already.
Okay.
We have one from Rachel.
Yeah.
It says, what platforms can we use to open ISAs?
Oh, the ISA is... Okay, the ISA. You can even go to your own bank, your regular bank. It depends on which ISA you want to buy, actually.
Yeah.
But you can go to your... I'm trying to close this screen so that I can... Okay, don't save. So I can get back to the Zoom and then I can see you better.
Yeah, you can stop sharing.
Okay, stop share, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, fabulous. Okay. Oscar's got a question. Right. Okay. What platforms to buy your ISA? I would, if you're starting out, I'm assuming you want a cash ISA. Or do you want the stocks and shares ISA? Or do you want a lifetime ISA? Or do you want a innovative ISA? If it's a normal, regular cash ISA, which is basically a savings account, the interest on it is not very high, but it's getting you in the game. Just go to your bank and say, Halifax, can I open an ISA? You can even open it if you log into your own bank account, and then it will show you links to a cash ISA. If it's a stocks and shares ISA, you need to do a bit more research into which stocks you want. Do you want Eastern European stocks? Do you want South American stocks? South American stocks are good. Or do you want the Chinese stocks? That one, you will need a broker. Or I'd recommend you speak to a broker. To find a broker, just go on the FSA website, the Independent Financial Advisor website, and get a broker from there. You can do it yourself, but most companies, ethical companies that sell stocks and shares ISA, will not accept you, because they need to make sure you've had the right financial advice, you understand the risks, you understand that you're putting your money there for the long term, you're not going to put it out next week. So you need that. So that's your stocks and shares ISA, your cash ISA, your lifetime ISA. You can open that from your bank, because they won't allow you to use that money for anything else other than to buy a house. You can't take it out and pay school fees for someone else. They will only allow you to do specific things with it. So go to the bank. There's, the government basically wants to use your money. And that's basically it. So it's not hard, but definitely you need to do some research first. The stocks and shares you need a broker. I wouldn't go to a website. If you're using a website, go through the government portals first, because lots of cowboys are out there ready to take your money. Also, Louis Money Saving X gives you, yeah, that's true. Oscar Amobi had a question. Can you unmute, Oscar?
Good evening.
Hello, Oscar.
Thank you so much. It's been so exciting listening to you all night. I wish you would talk about the property this evening. I was itching to hear because...
I can talk about property. You can ask me a few questions. I can give you 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Woo-hoo!
Thank you. Well,
we're launching.
So I've got like 3 questions. First one is as regards generating money, like generating funds. So I wanted you to probably, if you have 1 or 2 recommendations on the survey, the idea of the survey, I like that one.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that way one can generate some little fund here and there.
Yeah.
And then secondly, I wanted you also to speak, you spoke already about the stock and the bond and stock as regard the ISA. Probably I will have to read more on that one because I'm interested in it. For someone who has got like 2,000, 3,000 pound savings just lying in there, how can we put it into useful usage? Then thirdly, as regards property, I was looking up, that I have money yet, but I'm just preparing my mind and my spirit, thinking towards it. So I was checking up on Zoopla one of the times.
Yeah.
And I saw a property 3-bed going for about 200 and 200 or something thousand pounds.
Yeah.
For
250?
About that amount, yes.
Okay. In where?
Yeah. I live in Bradford actually. So
okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So and I was looking at the condition for the prepayment, what you can get from bank, just the analysis Zoopla did. So I really do want to understand how does it work, because when I checked the percentage the bank will be charging, how much mortgage one has to pay per month, and the duration of repayment. And then I calculated what was left seemed to be like, after, based on the monthly repayment, at the end of that amount of time, is like I'll be paying more, like 2 times the entire money bank is giving to me. So I got confused.
Okay. Yeah, so I was going to do that as an exercise. I think if you remember, I said we'll do that as an exercise, but we can do a quick run through today. So this is like me straight off the bat, I'm prepped, so I'm going to give you the real, the real thing, not the real thing, but you know what I mean. Like, I'm not going to be cooking out any information. So we can do that.
Okay.
Your question was generating funds or doing surveys.
Yeah.
Right. The surveys, it depends on your subject. Okay.
Mhm.
So, for example, I'm a pharmacist. That's my
Yeah.
profession.
Yeah.
I'll do so Google. Yeah. So when you do surveys, normally you need to register with the people or the organization that does surveys.
Mhm.
Yeah. So if you're a profession, I don't know what your profession is, Oscar. What's your profession?
I'm more into IT. Like
IT, right,
though at the
It must be
moment
like
I
a
work in the
business.
health and care, but my field is actually IT. Yeah.
IT, fine. So literally Google how to earn money from surveys as an IT specialist.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
And then you'll get everything will drop out in Google. Do not go to this thing that says sponsored. Do not go to that.
Oh, okay.
Do not go to sponsored. If it says sponsored, run 1,000 miles.
Okay.
Okay. So go down a bit further. Yeah. And then you'll find a company that does, we do IT surveys. And then you register with those people. Obviously, make sure it is secure. It's got you're IT, so you know how it's secure. Then, because when you're doing these surveys, they'll ask you for your driving license, for your, to make sure it is you, and your bank account. And then basically what happens is when there's a survey so you give them your skills. When there's a survey that suits you, that survey will come into your inbox to say, can you do this survey? And we'll pay you £15, or we'll pay you £30, we'll pay you £500 or whatever. Right. And then then we'll say this survey will take 30 minutes. And then make sure you've got the 30 minutes. Don't do it and then nip in and out of it, because it won't. It will log you out. And then sit down, do that survey. If you go past what it wants, the £30 will appear in your wallet. Oh. That's it. Okay. Yeah. So you might want to do surveys, but you might not want to do IT. Obviously, if you make it specialist like IT, then you're going to get the specialist service. But you could do, I don't know, Sainsbury's surveys, because they're trying to find out what color should they make their crisp packet. Yeah. And they'll say, right, to answer that question, we'll give you £5. You could do these surveys all day long. Okay. Yeah. Get on Facebook and get doing surveys. And make your £1,000. You can make £1,000 from surveys.
Wow! I'm already on my Google.
You actually can, yes.
I'm already on my Google. Thank you very much for this one.
Okay, the other question you said was about stocks, bonds, and ISAs. If you got 2,500. Now, before you invest, you need to say to yourself, do I need this money? Or do I not need this money? That sounds really weird.
That's right.
That sounds like a really weird question. So if you've only got 2,500 and you cannot afford to lose this money, do not do ISAs. Okay. So you need to say, I need this money. I need this 2,500. I need it. I need it back. That's what I mean. So put it in premium bonds, put it in, take it to your credit union, put it in people that will give you your money back. Yeah. Everybody else may or may not give you your money back. Right. So that question is really, 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 really important. Okay. Yeah. You might say to yourself, I don't really want this money back, or I could have this money back. I'm happy for me to have this money back in 2 years.
No.
Or in 3 years. Put it in an ISA. Don't worry about it. So when you put it in an ISA and they send you a bank statement at the end of the year, I think one of my ISA sends it every 6 months, I think, and it go from 2,500 to 1,800. And then 6 months it might be 1,500. Remember, you put in 2,500. Yeah. So then in 2 years it might be 2,000. In 6 years it might be 9,000. That's how ISAs work. So do you need the money? That's the first question. Can you stomach the dips? Some people can't. I personally, my attitude is I put the 2,500 in. I don't need it. I'm writing it off. It's gone. I need to do something else. I'm happy for that money to be in that investment. The other thing was the property, the £250,000 property in Bradford. My first question is, like any other investment, what is this property for? What is this property for? You don't need to give me an answer, but that is the first question you need to answer. Okay? Because by answering that question, it will determine what you do next. If this property is for you to live in, this is going to be like, you must look at the property you live in as the worst investment of your life.
Wow.
Okay? And again, I'll go into that later. It's the worst investment of your life because, one, it doesn't give you any money back. So remember, your ISA gave you money back.
Yeah.
Your property you're going to live in doesn't give you money back. The worst investment because every month you have to pay for that property. So every month that asset is asking you to work to give it money, and it's getting zero out. Okay? So if you're happy to do that because you're going to live in it, perfect. If you're happy to do that because you're going to rent it out, you're making a huge mistake. Don't do that. Okay. Now, you did mention that it looked like for every £1, you're paying £2 back. That is actually how the property market works in the UK. For every £1 you borrow, multiply it by a minimum of £2.5. A minimum of £2.5. So if you borrowed 250,000, you're gonna pay back a minimum of 750,000 in the lifetime of the mortgage. That's how the property market works, but we will go into that later. In terms of calculating the deposit, I'm gonna give you a very quick way of calculating deposit, and this works for everybody. So if you're gonna,
can I just interject here?
Yeah.
Oscar, you are in my language. They say she's unwrapping and you're pocking the bag. The drips. Why don't you wait for the next session next year?
That's very true.
A full menu, because we have questions here related to investment, and now we are kind of getting to they're talking about property, but then we're getting bits,
and that's the worst thing you do. Don't get me started on property, please don't. Mr. Ntege had a question, and somebody had a question.
I think we had a question before Mrs. Ntege. It was on the chat.
Yeah.
It says, can you provide examples of peer-to-peer to own a share in property organization that you have tried? Again, I don't know if that's going to be a quick answer.
We can do peer-to-peer. I personally don't do peer-to-peer because I have actually been to Canary Wharf, to Mayfair, to Regent's Park. I've been in all those property, investors groups. And I take it with a pinch of salt. A peer-to-peer platforms, there's so many. I think there's Crowd Property. If you Google it, there's Property Crowd. Basically, it's crowdfunding. Now, one of those two, I can't remember whether it's Crowd Property or Property Crowd. One of them went bust. That was based in Manchester, and I even know where their office is, based in Altrincham in Manchester. And I think I even know the person who bought the actual office where they were. So peer-to-peer, again, you need to, the other thing is, I think they're not FSA regulated. So if you lose your money, you've lost your money. Basically, peer-to-peer is like us people here in this room, this 33 people, we get together and we say, you know what, we are going to become property investors. And we need money from the crowd. And we're going to put our whole proposal together and we're going to sell it on this particular platform. What you don't know is, out of all 33 of us, only one of us knows about property. The other is a plumber. The other one is electrician. Another one is God knows what, somebody who works at the bank. So usually you do lose your money. And a lot of them have gone bust. And when they do, they go with your money because they're not the government, they're not regulated. But there's so many. There's crowd property. The ones I can think of right now are crowd property, but I'll find out more for you next week. I would rather invest with somebody that I know. And I know their track record, and they can show me that they have bought a house and this is what they have gone through. So that is how I take it. But if you've got lots of money and you haven't got the time and you can afford to lose that money, and it's not a lot of money because you can invest with as little as £1,000 and you just want to dip your toes in, peer-to-peer lending is definitely the best way. Any other questions? Let me see. Also, 3 new messages.
There's doing mortgage and paying for rent. Which one do you think is better?
It depends. This is a very loaded question. Because I need to define what you mean by better. Yeah, so this is very loaded. Because it depends on your situation as well. So for example, you might be somebody who is over the age of 50 and you just you haven't got a big enough deposit to secure the mortgage. In that case, you just have to rent. So you don't have many options. Your mortgage might end up being, £3,000 a month, whereas the rent might be £500 a month. So it depends on a lot of factors. It's a very, very, very loaded question. This peer-to-peer lending, is there some legal protection in case of anything? It depends on the contract you sign with your provider. Do you know about ClearScore? ClearScore is, I think that's the credit rating. The credit rating platform. I personally prefer. Can I ring or text you tomorrow? Do you know about ClearScore? Can I ring or text you tomorrow? Yeah, I think you can. Do you have any knowledge information about Moneybox and Vanguard? Oh, Vanguard. Okay, this one I need to. Let me write that down. I'll have to answer that next week. Moneybox.
I think Mrs. Ntege has had her hand up patiently for a while.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Sylvie.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mrs. Rehema. I'm glad I joined this session because I've learned incredibly a lot. And we're ever so grateful. It's such a good way of starting the whole year, especially with the budget spreadsheet that I've learned that I should be doing every first of the year, which is amazing. Although I'm yet to to organize myself, but that's another great way of beginning the year. Now you've spoken about the incredible ways of investment, and one of them has been, well, it's a couple of them, the credit union and the ISA that you've really exhausted a lot on that one. But I'm more of I'm a mother of 6 children, and they're in the young age. Whereby we spend a lot of money as mothers with small children in activities, after school activities here and there. And these are after school activities, not that they yield into any major, they're not a great way of investing money really, but because you want your children to be active and get out of the let's say the dangerous areas. So that's the reason why you want to invest money in that. And also maybe you never know, maybe they can become footballers or whatever, actors and blah blah blah. So is that a great way of investing money in children as opposed to credit union? If I had put my, let's say, £200 in, let's say, in the ISA account of each child, or let's say £100 in their account, as opposed to these activities, don't you think that would benefit them more?
I can answer that one very quickly. It's a very, very interesting question. Can I take Kim's question as well? Or no, I'll answer and take a question first. So,
can I answer another? Can I question? I had 2 questions. Sorry. The other one is Now, you see, with pension schemes, there's lots of them. You pay a lot of money in the pension scheme, but then when it comes to getting it out, you don't get that much money out of it unless you say, okay, I want a whole chunk of money. Whereby this year we're having the age of taking out all your money is 55. Yeah, they will increase it by 58 in next year. So. You know, what would you advise our children? Are they better off investing in these ISA or shares as for pension as opposed to pension schemes? Because I don't understand the notion of a pension scheme, because I think it's a rip-off thing. But anyway, that's something that you can elaborate on. The other one is
I'm laughing because it's
the last question. Sorry, the last question.
Yeah.
Sorry, the reason why I'm asking about the ISA, the pension, is because we're having a huge influx of elderly people in the Baganda community, and they are really struggling because the pension is ending up not giving them what they promised them. They have to work another 2, 3, 4 years in order to make ends meet. So I was just wondering, because you seem to be more knowledgeable about that, so I'm wondering, is it a better way of investing in these investment venues than channels than the pension scheme? Anyway, so that's the second question. The last question is, in terms of property.
A lot of questions.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Sylvie.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I'm asking too many questions. Yeah, but the last one is in regards to a mortgage. The mortgage scheme. I know you're going to elaborate on it next week, but a quick one. Aren't I better off? This is our belief, me and my husband, buying auction property as opposed to a mortgage, because the interest is ridiculous. What a silly way of making money on mortgage.
I think I've answered that one. That one is that one is no.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But I'll go into the reasons for that. Again, reasons for that later. I'm conscious that Kim's got a question, but let me quickly answer these questions. So 6 kids, school activities, swimming, and so on. Am I better off investing in that than all the other stuff? First of all, Mrs. Ntege, I'm going to be very honest with you here. You are not investing effectively you are investing in your kids. Trust me, I get that. But you're investing in a high-risk product. Your kids are a very high-risk product. Okay? So the return on that investment is dicey, to say the least. It's very good. We're all invested in, but it's a very high-risk strategy. Okay? Why am I saying that? You cannot control what happens to those children. It doesn't matter. You don't know. If one ends up in prison, one ends up in flying off to Australia, never to be seen again, one ends up in whatever, those are just the returns you're going to get. I'm not saying that is what's going to happen. But what I'm saying is it's a high-risk strategy where you've got no control of the output of that. So invest in your kids, yes, but put your 10% investment that you pay yourself, so you're not paying your kids, you're paying yourself, in your own investment. Because when you're going to the Royal Liverpool Hospital or whatever hospital you are at, and they're asking you to pay £4,000 for your chemotherapy, your kids are going to say, you know what? So you need you're investing for yourself, for your future, something that you need to be in charge of. You cannot be in charge of your kids. Okay, that is one.
Sorry, Rakim. On that one, my question, maybe I didn't make it clear. My question was, am I better off investing that money that I invest in the children's activities in opening up ISA accounts for my children? So
no, you're not better. You're comparing apples and oranges.
Mm-hmm.
The money that you are investing in your children's education, that should be in the 70%. When we broke it down, we had 10% you pay for yourself, that's your investment money, 20% is your debts, 70% is the money you live on. The money for your kids swimming, kids phone, kids whatever, that should be in that 70%. So you need to be absolutely clear that you are not using your 10%. Your 10% is your investment money. Okay, So your kids, maybe you're using 100% of your money, but that means your 10%, you're not investing, you're just wasting it on these kids. I'm not saying I don't want to offend, because I'm not causing offense, but in terms of finance, that is a very high risk. It's not even a strategy, it's just a thing that you're doing. You're not investing.
Rehema, the point still is, should I invest that money, that kids' money for their...
You need to invest your 10% in an investment, any investment. So whether that's an ISA, I can't say to you whether the ISA is better than your kids, but you definitely...
I got that point, miss. Yeah. It's only that I'm wondering, the money that the students' activity money, and I better off if that money goes to their ISA account, their
own ISA account,
rather than me spending it on these, high risk activities. Yes.
All right. Okay. If their own ISA account, I think they've got to be 18 to have an ISA. So you can't be spending in their ISA account. But what you can do from the age of 11, you can open a savings account. So you're not better off. I don't want to say you're better off, because your children need to be healthy and fun, and your mental health and all of that. You're not better off. It's about trade-offs. So instead of spending £10, all the £10 on their activity, you could say, I'm spending £5 on their activities and the other 5 putting it in their savings account. You're just doing different things for your kids. So you're not better off. But if you're saying that all the activities you have to pay for, I'll ask you, why are they not cycling? Why are they not walking? Yes, they need to go swimming and play piano, but they don't need tennis and horse riding, or maybe they do. But what I'm saying is, can you do some activities, like cycling or whatever, that you actually can save money on? And the other thing is, can your kids, are they old enough to be volunteers at, say, the ice rink? If the volunteers at the ice rink, they'll be ice skating for free.
Wow.
When I went to the Commonwealth Games, because I love sport, I volunteered to mag and bag people in. And once we finished checking everybody in, I sat and watched the games for free.
What age do they start to volunteer to ice rink?
Find out what your ice rink or whatever, your tennis club's volunteering age is. You can see, if you watch tennis, Wimbledon, ball boys are ball boys. Yeah, they're boys. Once they finish doing their ball boy thing, they I'm sure they use their courts for free.
Indeed.
So can you, so that you can save the other £5 in their own ISA account?
The ISA account is from the age of 11. Did you say that, or the savings
ISA account is from 18. The savings account for the kids is from 11.
Okay.
By the way, I opened my first bank account when I was 11.
Wow.
So I know it is a Lloyd's. It's got an instant saver for kids from the age of 11. I know that mine was with Abbey National, Santander, and so on. But I wanted to touch quickly, because I know Kim had questions. The pension scheme and the SIP, I think we can answer that in property, because there's a whole way that you take your money out at 55 and then put it in property. That is a whole thing. The huge influx of people struggling, BME people struggling with their pension, is because the money in the pension is never enough. Any money that you invest that does not move, so it's not doing, it's a slow move, and I don't know how to explain that. So if you put in the money in an ISA account, you put it in, you walk away, you come back 5 years later, that money you've not been moving, you've not been interacting with that money. Any money that you don't have any interaction with does not make you any money. Pension schemes, you take the money, you drop it in, you come back when you're 68, it hasn't made you any money. So that is the reason for that. Money that you interact with, so you're doing transactions, you're moving with it, that is the money that actually makes you money. It's a very high risk strategy. You need to have the stomach for it, but that's the money that's going to make you money. So these BME people, whether they're Caribbean or African, that paid into the pension scheme for this country, their money was used up already. And that's the end of that story. Government will start to tell you all sorts of different stories, but that's because the money was not moving. You were not interacting with it. So and that's why they opened these SIPs, to make you interact with your money. In terms of mortgage or rent, I think Oscar asked that question. Are you better off mortgaging or not? Again, I think we can answer that next week. And I think I wanted to do Kim's question and then possibly wrap it up. I don't think investment in kids should be quantified in any way. Fair enough. But when you come, I work in a cancer hospital actually at the moment, and I am a clinical pharmacist. I have to authorize a lot of chemotherapy regimes. It shocks me, absolutely shocks me, that the NHS will say this treatment is going to cost £10,000. Therefore, you're not having it. And because you're not having it, your life expectancy is 6 months. They don't say that bit, obviously. They just say to your life expectancy 6 months. I work in the private sector. So in the private sector, these kids or these children, they will come and they will pay for their parents' treatment at £10,000. This is real. So when I say that you need to invest in your kids at £5 and the other 5 put it in something else, there is a real reason for it. It's absolutely shocking that the NHS, this government, is not going to pay for your treatment if it's above £25,000 a year. It will not. So we need, and it shocks me also that Black people, apart from footballers and really famous people, they don't come to the private sector for treatment because they can't afford it. Simple as that. So it's really, really important that the investment bit, we're on it, even from the kids. So when my kids are 11, they're opening a bank account. It's not even it's not even a question of that. But yes, it's good for your kids to go swimming and all of that. Kim, you had another question. Sorry, can I unmute?
Yes,
Kim?
I'm happy for this to be answered next week because it's in regards to mortgage and I know or I've heard, I don't know how true this is, that you can.
You should ask it so that it's prepared as part of next week.
Right. I'm happy for it to be next week. That you can get on the property ladder, although you're on housing benefit.
Oh, definitely.
I just need to find out how true that is and how easy or how you have to go about that to get to that stage.
That is definitely doable, Kim. You can definitely buy the house you're in. And again, we can discuss that next week, but definitely, and sometimes you've already paid the deposit.
Yeah, so I need to know more info on that. That's why I'm saying I'm happy for it to be answered in detail next week.
Yeah. But it does make a difference if your house is council owned or housing association owned.
All right.
Is it council owned?
Housing association.
Housing association owned. Housing associations are all trusts. I could talk about that a lot. They don't pay tax, or your rent you pay to them is profit, 100% profit. But that's another story. And you've got shares in that housing trust. You just don't know it. Right. Any other questions? I could talk about property.
Thank you very much, Rehema. Thank you.
I hope it's been helpful and useful. I think I've prepared a session on property, but rather than maybe giving you background, if you can maybe all email Sylvia the questions that you need to ask, and then what I can do is modify my presentation next week to suit those particular questions. I think Oscar, is it Oscar? I think it was. If you can email your question a little bit more, or even email me the postcode of that property and I'll have a look at it.
Hi, can you get, okay. Someone's asking,
am
I better off buying an auction property as opposed to a mortgage?
If you don't know anything about property, stay away, run 100 miles in the opposite direction on foot, not even in the car, run 100 miles the other way from an auction property. I can tell you a lot about that. If a property is on auction, it means it has a big fundamental problem. Either it has got a financial problem that the banks can't solve, you're going to be stuck with it. It's got a structural problem. It's got a tenancy problem. There was one I saw in Liverpool. I was like, "Ooh, this is a tenancy problem," because some tenants you cannot evict. You cannot evict some tenants. A property may have a lease of under 75 years. It's on auction. You buy it, you're stuck with it. So unless if you know enough about properties, stay away, 100% away from auction properties. You're just going to buy a big problem. They do house. Is it house on hammer? Homes under the hammer. Homes under the hammer. I think the last time I looked at the stats, they basically video like 100 houses under the hammer. Follow those 100, and those 6 that make it through are the ones that make that series. The rest don't.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, did you say house on the hammer are the ones that are
Homes under the hammer. It's a program.
Loads of revelation tonight.
So the 8 or whatever that make it are the ones they show on TV.
Wow. Yeah. This is amazing. I would never have imagined this.
A property can only go in auction if it has a fundamental problem. That is the criteria for putting it under the hammer. It might be because it's under probate, and the owners, the inheritors, the 6 kids that inherited it, all have issues that you need to then solve. It might be a repossession, a bank repossession. Because they've changed the rules, you can buy it. The bank has got a right to come and take it from you after you've bought it. So there are all sorts of fundamentals that go into that. Having said that, if you know what you're doing and you're good at solving problems, you can make a lot of money on auction properties. But for a beginner, just stay away. Run, go 100 miles the other way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? I hope I've answered them. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Sylvia, for inviting me. I didn't think I'll have enough to talk about today, but you have surprised me. If I've offended anybody, I do apologize. Please, it's not intentional, but hopefully you've come away with a couple of things there. Julie, you will coordinate the 2 people that I need to follow up with my offer of my 30-minute consultation, which is free. Normally I charge a lot of money, like £300 for the consultation, but you've been so good to me today that I'm willing to go through that with you for free at some point, hopefully before the end of February, if that's okay with you. But also, if you do want that chat, I do want you to come with real questions, to say, I tried this and I failed at that. I wanted us to go through debt and how we deal with debt and bailiffs and CCJs and defaults. I really wanted us to touch on that topic, but unfortunately time didn't allow it. So if anybody's got questions around that, we can go over that again if time allows.
Yeah. Sorry, did you say that you're going to elaborate more on the pension scheme later on? Because
yes, I need to make a note of that. The SIPs and the pension schemes, because you can take your money out at 55, but you then need to lend it to a company, peer-to-peer, and then that company then has to use it. You are not allowed to use it.
What was that? You not allowed? Oh my goodness! Lend it to 1 minute. I'm writing now. Lend it to a company, and then that peer-to-peer,
so
and then that company.
You put it in this SIP. So normally you think you're going to take this 60K or 100K out, and you're going to invest it in what you want.
Yeah.
But the government says, if you invest it and the whole investment goes down the chute, we're going to be stuck with you. So it is saying you can take the money out. You can give it to Rehema, and Rehema can invest it for you. You can lend it. But it's basically that's how it works.
Sorry. So I mean, and unless you show the government where you're going to lend that money, then they won't release your money.
It's not going to give it to you. It's not going to give it to you. It's going to transfer that money to that place.
Hold on a minute. So if I want to invest that money,
can't put it in a residential property. No, you can't do it in a residential property. No.
No, I mean, hard earned money for so many years, and I'm saying I'm moving back to my beloved home country. I'm investing money in my own home country. So
unless if you sign a disclaimer saying that you need a hip replacement in your own home country, you're not going to fly back for it.
Are you serious? When was that disclaimer? Because my auntie, I'm sorry to say, but let me elaborate on this one. My auntie and my husband's grandmother just took out, she's 88, just took out her pension. That is, she got 300,000, and she got all the money. Really, all the money. I didn't know that gritty of it, but she investing it back home in the country, building a mall.
Right. Okay. So let me just clarify that for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Your grandmother was 80.
88. Yeah.
88.
Yes.
That's the key.
Key.
If you're below, I think it was 68 or 65, whatever age it is. I'll check it again. It means the likelihood of your grandma at 88 dying these are just facts. I'm not being insensitive, but this is how the government is looking at it. The likelihood of your grandma dying is probably more certain than you at 55, not using up all that money, losing it, and coming back at 65 and asking the government to look after you. Okay? So if you take out that money below a certain age, the government is not going to give you free reign. You can take that money and drink it, and, you could take that money and go on holiday. So it is trying to say, we want you to interact with your pension money, but we will put controls in place so that you don't spend it.
So if, let's say I'm 65 at the age of the pension, where I'm allowed to take out my money, will the government put condition on that as well?
If you're under the pension age and you take out your money, the government puts conditions on it, yes. Sorry.
Okay, so what about if after the retirement age, if I am 68, 67, maybe 70, for instance.
You take out your money, you do what you want with it. If you're under a certain age, if you're 55 and you get your money out, the government will put restrictions on what you can do with it.
Right.
Because the chances of you going into business at 55 and you failing in that business,
very high.
All that money is extremely high. So you'll come back at age 57 and you'll say, can you look after me until I'm 90?
Okay. And this will be taxed heavily.
It's not going to be taxed heavily if you know what you're doing. Yeah. But I'll try, and that's a whole topic. Like I have to bring a whole specialist on that.
This is more like a different lecture on its own.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand up either physically or digitally if you feel that maybe Rehema should take us through a session on pension plans and pension planning.
Oh, God.
And
my hand is up. My voice is up.
Yeah, I can see my hand, 2 hands, 3 hands. It's also a test to see who's live on and who's not. Okay, we have Maha, we have Farai. We have Joy, Roland. We have several people. There you go. Okay. Kim, we are going to talk about property on the 23rd. On the 23rd of this month, which is next Tuesday, 4:30. We are talking about
if they can feed the questions to you, and then if you can give me the questions, Hopefully,
as you can see,
before the
Rehema,
weekend.
I think we are going to have a session on pension planning with you. So prepare that, and we shall talk about time availability.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Please, guys, put your hands together, digitally or physically, for Rehema. This has been super informative. As you can see, the questions are still flying. We are so grateful for your expertise, for giving us the time, for pouring into us, for being very open and very, very clear on your answers. As Rehema said, if you feel like you've been offended, guys, this is a learning process. I was offended throughout high school, but I did do nothing to the teacher. So use it as a learning process and pick up something from it. Thank you so much. And feel free to join us next Tuesday, 23rd of January, from 4:30 to 7. It's almost 7:30 now. So, you know, if the conversation is exciting, absolutely, you know, we can carry on for a long time. There is a form in the chat. Please click that link, save it, and put your questions on it so that we can ask Rehema all these questions next time. And we are going to arrange another session with Rehema. Fingers crossed, touch wood, she's available. She's a very, very busy woman. I reached out to her in November. That's how busy she is. And we've been able to get her on here in January. So please make sure you ask your questions so that we can make it possible. We can enable it to happen. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate that you have made time to join us, to share, to ask questions, to learn with us. We absolutely appreciate you all. Women and digital inclusion doesn't take you for granted. And if you know a woman, a Black woman or a Black brother, but use the woman, please, who needs a phone, data, card, we have data and it's free. Guys, we don't ask questions, right? We don't ask where are you on benefits, are you what? Those who have received from Wodin will tell you we don't ask those questions. We just need to know that you need the card and we'll give it to you. It's free for 6 months. And thereafter, if you still need it, you let us know. We apply for more data, you get it. We have quite a few of them still left. I think about 34 or something altogether. So don't you come rushing all at once, but they will go. They will go because we started with over 100 and something cards and we only have 30 left. So don't be dragging your feet if you need a SIM card. Reach out. You have to be Merseyside best though. Unfortunately, for those of you that don't live in Liverpool, I'm sorry. Well, not Liverpool, Merseyside. So if you're in Merseyside, please reach out to our Rachel Barbara. Her icon is a purple R on here. Reach out to her. We also have, so drop your number or email in the chat so that she can connect with you and get you that SIM card to you as soon as possible.